It's Tuesday, the 6th of June, 2023. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes, let's go. Story number 1, new car sales hit a record high last month with sales of EVs surging, making the Tesla Model Y the third highest selling vehicle in the country.
Sales across the country jumped 12% in May to 105,694. Now, that's 2.7% higher than the previous record month, which was also a May, but back in 2017. While the tradies' friend, the Ute, remains the highest selling vehicle, the growth in EV sales is pretty remarkable. Battery-powered vehicles represented 7.7% of sales in May. If you include hybrids, about 15.6% of sales. Tesla is definitely leading the way as the biggest selling EV manufacturer. The Federal Chamber of Automotive Industries yesterday said that for the first 5 months of calendar 2023, new vehicle sales are up 4.3% to 457,000.
That's a lot of cars. What's the main reason here, Sean? Is it just the loosening of supply chain issues?
Primarily, that's the case. Global production levels have been ramping up as the semiconductor shortage eases and backorder books diminish. A big part of the reason for the surge is many vehicles ordered last year were delivered during the month of May. Now, Federal Chamber of Automotive Industries Chief Executive Tony Webber said the results encouraging given the logistical challenges over the past 12 months, though some of those challenges at least still remain. What's promising is that there was a jump in all buyer market segments: private, business, government and rental. In terms of big sellers, Michael, the Toyota Hilux and Ford Ranger are 1 and 2, Tesla Model Y number 3, that sold 3,178 units. Toyota RAV came in at 4, and then the MG ZS.
Story number 2, Sean, the value of transactions using cards on smartphones has risen from $746 million in 2018 to more than $93 billion in 2022. This is according to research from the Australian Bankers Association.
That's 50 times the level it was in just over 5 years. And the number of cards registered to mobile wallets has gone from just over 2 million to 15.3 million. Now, the research will be published by the Australian Banking Association tomorrow, according to a report in the Financial Review. When you think about cash, that's expected to be just 2% of transactions by 2025. People are using smartphones, not cash. The figures really demonstrate that Apple has enormous market power, both by its sheer size and scale, market cap and customer relationships, according to Chief Executive of Commonwealth Bank, Matt Comyn. Commonwealth Bank wants its banking app to be able to use iPhones to make tap-and-go payments, but it wants to be able to do that on better terms than Apple currently offers. Now, the competition regulator is having a look at this and whether or not Apple's practice of restricting third-party access is okay or not. We're going to hear a lot more about this story.
We sure are. On to story number 3 now. Ahead of today's decision by the Reserve Bank Board on interest rates, ratings agency S&P Global has warned that mortgage arrears in Australia are climbing and financial stress is escalating.
The stress is appearing among both prime mortgages and non-conforming securities. Basically, that means across the spectrum of home loans. It blames rising interest rates and the cost of living pressures and said things will get worse later in the year. S&P also named some of the hardest hit areas. The worst spot for arrears is in New South Wales in the Blue Mountain suburb of Katoomba, where 5.6% of loans are in arrears. Other suburbs heavily in arrears in New South Wales include Bonnyrigg, Dolls Point and Alpine, which is in the Southern Highlands. Forestfield in Western Australia makes the list, as does Avoca Dell in South Australia, Barkly in Queensland, and Broadmeadows in West Melbourne in Victoria.
Now, this is an interesting one. Story number 4, the boss of Elders, Mark Allison, has changed his mind. He's going to stay at the agribusiness company, extending his 9-year stay.
So apparently a global search firm couldn't find an adequate replacement. As a result, Allison has a new contract. His annual remuneration is up 37%. He's got retention payments if he stays around and potentially a bunch of free shares. Late last year, Elders' share price tumbled 23% on the day he announced he'll leave the business, scheduled for the end of this year. Now he's done this U-turn. Elders' share price jumped yesterday. Mind you, it's still about half of what it was before Allison's initial announcement, thanks to a drop in profit margins on the back of lower cattle and sheep prices and a slowdown in chemicals and fertiliser sales. Chair Ian Wilton, when asked why a board director stepped down ahead of the announcement that Allison is staying, said, "What happens in the boardroom stays in the boardroom." Interesting.
Ooh, certainly interesting. Story number 5, last one. I love this story, Sean. The world of flying is becoming a little bit more egalitarian, I suppose, with Qatar Airways set to scrap first class on long haul flights.
So Qatar's regularly voted the best airline in the world. Its boss, Akbar Al-Baker, says its next generation of long-haul aircraft will have business class, but no first class, because the investment in first class doesn't justify the returns. Basically, business class offers many of the same perks as first class, including double beds. Al-Baker says people don't buy first class when business is so good. According to a story on Bloomberg, it actually runs against the trend among global airlines. Germany's Lufthansa, Qantas and Air France are pushing their first-class offerings. Al-Baker also said Qatar wants to expand its operations here in Australia, both via the airline and with its partner Virgin Australia. It wants to add extra daily services to Sydney, Perth, Melbourne and Brisbane.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Tuesday, the 6th of June, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. If 5 minutes isn't long enough for you, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.